So you're probably wondering, how did we get to this scene? How did this happen? Why is Ethel on the floor? Is she dead? She's moving her feet. Is she alive? Is she dying? What's happened? Rogers is distraught. Marston's hanging around. Let's go back a few moments and watch the events that set it all off. Finally, some action.
Ladies and gentlemen, silence please.
Oh, okay.
This is your host, U.N.Owen.
I'll be silent.
You are charged with the following indictments. Edward George Armstrong, that you did upon the 14th day of March 1925 caused the death of Louisa Mary Cleese. Emily Caroline Brent, that upon the 5th of November 1931 you were responsible for the death of Beatrice Taylor. William Henry Blore, that you brought about the death of James Stephen Landor on October 10th, 1928. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, that on the 11th day of August 1935, you killed Cyril Ogilvy Hamilton.
Melted a bit.
Philip Lombard, that upon a date in February 1932, you were guilty of the death of 21 men, members of an East African tribe.
You're not looking doorsy.
Mackenzie, that on the 4th of
God, that's the
January
strongest reaction I've ever seen.
You deliberately sent your wife's lover, Arthur Richmond, to his death. Anthony James Marston, that upon the 14th day of November last, you were guilty of the murder of John and Lucy Combs. Thomas Rogers and Ethel Rogers, that on the 6th of May 1929, you brought about the death of Jennifer Brady. Lawrence John Wargrave, that upon the 10th day of June 1934, you were guilty of the murder of Edward Seaton. Prisoners at the bar, have you anything to say in your defense?
Ooh. Oh, fun way to get up.
Doctor, I only fainted, Rogers. I'm sure she'll be fine. Narracott, you get my bag from my room?
Yes, of course.
Stout fellow. Marston, in a moment I'll want help to get her to her room.
Of course.
Behind the kitchen, is it, Rogers?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You can use that door.
Well, it's not like he's going to use any other door. I can see you. I can definitely see you. Right, back we are. Just to say that anything in the previous episodes that I glanced over, including letters and notes, I'm going to quickly recap when we do the interrogation in the next room, because I really want to know what was that record player about. I can't remember what the doctor asked us to do, so I'll just ask him again.
Please, Narracott, I need my bag as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll go and get his bag. Stairs we go. Run, Narracott, run! Or just take your time. Nice animation though, but just take your time, I guess. Run! And run again! He's just opened the door through the wood. Right. Oh, huh? I guess that's just part of the table. I can still see... No, I think that's just that reflecting. No, I can't see the doctor's bag. They've done this quite well. The wall they haven't. That looks like it's slanting. And this looks like it's a bit of a warp curve. But we need to go quickly back. Push downstairs. And we need to go and give this to the doctor. Dr. Armstrong? Oh yeah, he said he was going to take Mrs. Rogers into a room to ensure... And again, you've opened it on the wrong side now, God. Marston must have helped the doctor take her to the room. No, she doesn't look too good. She's levitating between the gaps in the covers. Doctor,
Perhaps we can talk later. For now, I must see to my patient.
Sure you don't want your doctor's bag?
Perhaps we can talk later. For now, I must see to my patient.
Alright, I'll just shove it in your lap. Ah. Now, this cog symbol you see indicates an action can be performed, and so an action shall be performed. Here's your bag, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Narracott. I am in your debt.
Hey. Ooh.
It's a painting of a flower. Looks like a water lily.
Well, I guess your recollection for art's improving. Right, let's go and question everyone. Take this door, it's easier. To the ballroom. The judge does seem to be playing a... I guess this must be billiards, because it's not pool, because there's only red balls, no yellows. Definitely not snooker. I guess it must be billiards. Not too sure how billiards is played. Looks fun though. Why is that a door symbol? Just an open archway.
Now, Rogers, tell us about that extraordinary voice.
Yes, do.
It was Mr. Owen, sir. In his letter, he wrote to me to put it on the gramophone once you were all settled in here after dinner.
That was Mr. Owen's voice?
You doubt that it was?
No. I thought I recognized it. I'm sure I'm mistaken.
Well, you could still input.
Graceful practical joke.
You think it was a joke?
What else could it be?
Truth.
I will need to hear more evidence before offering an opinion.
You could speculate. Oh, look how laid back he is
Mr.
walking in.
Marston and I carried Mrs. Rogers to her room. I gave her a mild sedative. She's resting comfortably.
Know
Whoever
that.
it was on that recording, that person knows or has taken the trouble to find out a good deal about us all. He was correct.
God, your
about
lip
secret.
syncing's
I
terrible.
presided at the trial. Your idea was execute a guilty man.
I remember the case. As I recall, there was some talk.
Ooh.
Happily, guilt and innocence are decided by those of us qualified to make a judgment, not by
Oh
gossip.
God, scary
Of
face.
course, there is one omission in that recording. Mr. Narracott, of course. Although to hear Mr. Blore tell it, he might have earned a place on that list had Mr. Owen been so inclined.
Random mouth movements, good grief. Alright, dear Doctor, let's have a chat with you. It'd be nice to know if there is any truth to the accusation against them. The Doctor was invited by Mr. Owen to attend the house party that Mrs. Owen was supposedly organising to check on her arthritis. Be interested to know whether the Doctor's had any malpractices or whether he is guilty from certain forms of addiction, whether it is drugs or even alcohol. I mean, he didn't touch any alcohol at dinner, mind you. Even though he may be like Narracott and won't touch the wine, none of them touched the wine. In fact, none of them even ate the dinner. I think the closest anyone's got to drinking wine is Narracott, and all he did was nick the wine glasses. But anyway, any truth, Doctor?
Any truth to the accusation against you?
It's a matter of interpretation, you understand. But I'd have to say, yes.
Guilty. What happened?
Will you tell me how it happened?
Elderly woman. Poor devil. I'd been up all night with an emergency case. My nerves were shot, hands shaking. But I had to operate. I had to try and save her. I had a pick-me-up or two to steady myself, but I bungled it. It wasn't the drink, I swear. It was an accident. Could have happened to anyone in my profession.
You bungled it, maybe had a drink one too many, killed her. I mean, what were you trying to do? I mean, it sounds like surgery gone wrong, but then again, it could have just been simple CPR. Well, let's see whether his claims match to the letter.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
Owen sent me a note, asking me to have a look at his wife, who's
He's an
been
honest
suffering
man.
from arthritis and muscle
Well,
spasms.
so. And why don't you tell me a bit more about the Seaton case, where quite far away from the judge? In fact, you're all the way on the other side of the living room. I'm pretty sure he won't be able to hear us.
What was the gossip concerning the Seaton case?
I'm not one to spread gossip to just anyone about a man as distinguished as Justice
Well,
Walker.
bring it up.
If I was certain about it.
Oh, so you are a
perhaps,
Gossip King.
But I'm not.
Good evening, Doctor.
Evening, I'm pretty sure it's quite late. Alright, Marston, dear fellow. Let's have a chat. Da 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 da. Oh no, I'll just pop over here. Marston, Badger, Barkley, or maybe Berkeley. It's difficult to tell in the letters. Invited him to pop down to a house party. Gramophone playing. Well, gramophone certainly played, but it wasn't loud music. And have a jolly good time. If he is he could be getting a kick out how fun this is, I guess. Seems a nice fellow. Bit of a wastrel and rascal, but alright. Suspicious one, mind you, very suspicious.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
The name sounded vaguely familiar. I expect it will come to me.
Come to you eventually, I guess. I do wonder whether Badger... we'll call him Barkley. Badger Barkley was the gentleman that we saw in the introduction video, in which he exchanged some package to Marston. When the doctor passed in his car, he hid the package behind his back. I am wondering whether the package, so to speak, was used by Marston for some other agenda other than what Barkley's claiming he's there for. Maybe that crumpled up origami right rows of a mess that he was walking around doing odd jobs cleaning the island, odd behaviour as Narracott said, was for something more of a sinister purpose. But let's just see whether his word matches the letter, so to speak, that we have thus far.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
Got a wire from a pal of mine, Badger Barkley. Surprised me at the time because
Barkley,
I had no idea
but
the
it's
old
been
horse had gone
spelled
to Norway.
Berkeley.
Told me to roll up here.
Thanks, Marston.
Okay. Told you just to roll up. No questions asked, alright. Rogers. Well, there must be some truth to the accusation. Your wife fainted.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
There isn't a word of truth in it. Miss Brady was always in poor health. Always. From the time we came to her.
Will you tell me how it happened?
There was a storm, as fierce as the one brewing outside right now when she was taken bad. The telephone was out of order. I went for the doctor on foot, but he got there too late.
Were you mentioned in the will?
Barely. Certainly not what we were led to believe. She was just saying it, you see, to ensure our devotion to her. Beg pardon. I'm not sure what came over me just then. The strain of tonight, I expect.
Doubt
and
it.
worry over Mrs. Rogers, of course.
Possibly worry over Mrs. Rogers, but most of that sounded like bitterness to me.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
Isn't that obvious, sir?
I think it's obvious
My
too.
wife and I were hired through an agency in Plymouth. Manservant, housekeeper, cook. That's what we are.
Good evening, Mr. Rogers.
It's night time, I'm pretty much sure now, Colt. Let's chat to Nemesis Blow. Well, I don't even know why I need to say any truth to the accusation against you. I believe it is true.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
If that are...
Look, Narracott, if that's what you want to call yourself, the rules have changed. Can't you see that? The past is past. It's the present we should be worrying about. Something is not right here.
I would have to agree, something is not right here. Something disturbing is in the works, and something really terrifying may happen in the next few days.
Will you tell me how it happened?
All right. Perhaps I was doing the odd favor for the person.
Doddie's been shaken up a bit.
But if your brother was framed, I had nothing
Oh,
to do with it.
we got to that conclusion
Yes,
fast.
they paid me to perjure myself about Landor. Thanks to them, I was able to put enough away to set up my own detective agency. Nothing fancy, but I've been
What did
straight
you
ever
say?
since, I swear.
Once a
Landor
Ben...
died.
Oh,
He got penal servitude for life and died in Dartmoor a year later. Not my fault he was such a delicate man.
didn't you say to me, when you thought I was Fred, once a bent copper, always a bent copper? How do I know you've gone straight?
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
I run a little detective agency in Plymouth these days.
You've already said.
I'm on a job. To protect Mrs. Owen's jewels, the letter said. Mrs. Owen, my foot. I don't believe there's any such person.
Could have said that with a bit more emphasis in your actions, rather than just waving your finger and say, Mrs. Owen, my foot. Should have been, Mrs. Owen, my foot. Bend over, foot stomping. Okay, Miss Brent, seems Narracot's pointing at you over his shoulder.
No, too late. Loose. No morals whatsoever.
Loose, you say? Well, never know, Nate Narracot. Very Claythorne could be very loose. And when I mean very, I'm referring to the letters that were addressed to Vera. They weren't properly written, let me put it that way. Several letters had shavings removed off it, and Vera, the A, looked more like a Y the way it was drawn, so it looked very Claythorne. I think I've even got it here. I'll just show you. Oh yeah, I'm in chat, okay. Tell me what happened.
Will you tell me how it happened?
It was some time before I found out she was what they call in trouble. Her parents
Wild
were decent
child.
folk too. I'm
Couldn't
glad to
handle
say
it.
they did not condone her behavior when I told them of it.
What happened to Beatrice?
Naturally, I did not keep her an hour under my roof. No one shall ever say that Emily Brent condoned immorality.
You kicked
How
her out
did
in the
she die?
cold?
Not content with having one sin on her conscience, she committed a still graver sin. She took her own life, threw herself in the river. If she had behaved like a decent young woman, she'd be alive today.
You have no regrets?
Yeah.
She made an excellent breakfast. I miss that. Fresh juice every day.
So, let me get this straight. She was loose by your standards, hanging around too many boys, a bit of a wild child. You ruined her relationship with her parents, you kicked her out in the cold, and quite possibly, she might have drowned herself on accident. Maybe on purpose, maybe she did commit suicide, maybe she was that miserable of the way you treated her that she couldn't live anymore. Or maybe you threw her in the river. I mean, you claim you're not immoral, but you've done several immoral things to somebody that you deem is immoral. So why did you come here all stuffed shirts?
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
I received a letter with a signature that was not very easy to read. It purported to be from a woman I'd met at a certain summer resort 2 or 3 years ago.
Your lips even
I'm
moving.
quite certain I have never met or become friendly with
Oh, they are.
anyone of the name of Owen.
Very pixelized in them. Send Tregnix to Miss Claythorne. I wasn't in the room now, Narracot. I mean, it's kind of gonna highlight the fact that you were listening in.
I overheard you mention St. Trednick to Miss Claythorne.
I was staying at a seaside hotel near St. Trednick
Oh, no surprise.
this same week of August 4 years ago. That boy Cyril Hamilton drowned near there. It was the talk of the town. His half-brother was much older. Hugo, I think his name was. Cyril was a vile child, by all accounts, but first in line for the family title and estates. When he died, it all went to Hugo. He was just about Miss Claythorne's age. There was talk of something between them.
You're suggesting Vera let the boy drown so the man she loved could inherit?
Come on, Vera, chip
That
in,
would be
defend
idle
yourself.
gossip. I don't indulge in idle gossip. I've only told you the facts of the case as I remember them.
That is all, Miss Brent.
Go on then, Vera, defend yourself.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
About that child, Cyril Hamilton. I was nursery governess to him.
Okay, you confirmed it. Defend yourself.
Will you tell me how it happened?
Emily's accused you of killing him.
Cyril
Well,
was forbidden
sort
to
of.
swim
No
out
gossip
far.
intended.
One day, my attention was distracted. I couldn't get there in time. It was awful. But it wasn't my fault. At the inquest, the coroner exonerated me. Oh, and his mother. She was so kind. If she didn't blame me, why should this awful thing be said?
Are you sure you're telling me everything?
Yeah, you sure?
I'm telling you all I'm going to, Mr. Narracot.
Ooh, suspicious. Well, according to the letter, you're going to be Mrs. Owen's secretary. Although what's even more suspicious is the fact someone planted a newspaper clipping of the entire incident that happened to Cyril Hamilton in your room. Either that's there to taunt you and haunt you, or either you are quite some crude sadistic woman and you've decided to keep the newspaper as a memento.
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
I was engaged through an agency to be Mrs. Owen's secretary. Nothing remarkable in that, is there?
A pleasure as always, Miss Claythorne.
Yes, access to important paperwork and documents and accounts, and you could seduce Mr. Owen. You could, you know, do the same thing you might have did with Hugo Hamilton and killed his brother so you can get the fortune, but that didn't work, so you wanted to try next couple, and so on and so forth. Alright, General, did you kill that Richmond fellow so Leslie could be yours?
Any truth to the accusation against you?
Fellow got hold of a detestable rumor, nothing more. Arthur Richmond was one of my officers. I sent him on a reconnaissance, he was killed. Natural course of events in wartime.
Thank you, General.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. I can put up with that. So about you, Lombard, Mr. Indiana Jones. I'll kill my party in the jungle.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
Owen did his research well. The accusation is absolutely true. I don't see that you've earned the right to any details, though.
My goodness, you're leaning forward every time you speak. You're like, rah, 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 but I must lean forward into your face, because I won't step forward and point and be funny about
Tell
it.
me how it happened.
He just said he wouldn't tell
It was
us.
written up in the papers at the time. A story of self-preservation, pure and simple.
What
A hunting
happened to
party
us
lost in
not
the
being
bush.
entitled to the
Great white
details?
hunter checks the food supplies, assesses his chances, and clears out on his own.
Leaving 21 men to die.
Not very Puka Sahib, I'm afraid.
No, it's not. Well, the letter was kind of vague. 100 guineas just for your services? I mean, Blow got the excess of £200 for his services. What are your services apart from leaving 21 men to die in the middle of the jungle?
What brought you here to Shipwreck Island?
Owen's attorney, a man named Archibald Morris, rang up one day. Wanted to give me 100 guineas to join this house party. I was to put myself at Owen's disposal in case my rather specialized talents were required.
And what are your talents, Mr. Lombard?
What specialized talents would those be?
You might say I'm a good man in a scrap.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Lombard.
And a man with a gun. Alright, last one's the judge.
Any truth to the accusation against you?
I remember Seaton perfectly well. Playwright, charged with the murder of a chorus girl. He was found guilty, hung himself in his cell 3 days later, saved the Crown the expense of doing it for him.
I am grateful for your assistance, Judge Wargrave.
Bit harsh. And that seat is humongous. I mean, either Wargrave is a tiny little man, or they made all these seats in this living room massive. I mean, I can understand the sofa being slightly large, but still, that's one huge pillow for one tiny little bottom, and that's a massive seat for one person. Good grief. After quite a lot of mindless running around the house, which I'll have cut out, come to my attention that maybe, just maybe, I should take the gramophone record. Oh, should I hear it again?
No need to listen to this side again.
But I
No
clicked
need
it.
to listen to this side again.
It
No
should
need to listen to this side again.
play it without you interrupting, saying, "By the power of my voice, I will prohibit it from playing." Oh,
Interesting history Shipwreck Island has.
really?
I studied up on it before I came down.
You said something about the
What are
Admiralty,
names
didn't
of
you?
those two people I'm accused of killing?
John and Lucy Combs. I made a note of it.
Must have been a couple of kids I ran over near Cambridge. Beastly bad luck.
For them, or for you?
Well, I was thinking for me, but of course you're right, sir. It was damned bad luck on them. Of course it was a pure accident. They rushed out of some cottage or other. Beastly nuisance. English roads are hopeless, of course. Can't get up a decent pace on them. Well, anyway, it wasn't my fault.
Ruin your car as well. By the sound of it. Ooh. Is this our first? Oh, not Marston. I wanted to get a few more laughs out of him. Don't do it, Marston. I wanted more laughs. Oh god. Someone is feeling queasy. Somebody get a doctor. And oh god, look at them fingers. Sausage fingers. Barely rendered. Oh, he's going. He's going. And he's gone.
This man is dead.
Oh, shit.